Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Assets, Projects and Strategy Committee meeting. Could I ask everyone to note the fire safety instruction that on hearing the alarm you should leave the chamber via the double doors at the rear, exit the building through the main entrance and congregate in the car park. Also, please switch off your mobile phone and turn any other electronic devices being used to silent. I'd like to remind everyone present this meeting is subject to an internet webcast recording that the proceedings are capable of repeated viewing. If you are seated in the public area of the council chamber, you're very small, but it is likely that your image will be captured by the recording cameras and result in your image becoming part of the broadcast. This may infringe your human rights, and if you wish to avoid this, you should leave the public seating area in the main body of the council chamber and move to the upper public gallery. Members, note that if for any reason you are not present for the whole of the debate on an item, you may not be allowed to vote on that item at all. Item number 1 is apologies for absence. Ms Wyatt, are there any apologies?
Thank you, Chair. Apologies have been received from Councillors Lewis, Russell and Poppy. Councillors Mayo, Barber and Patel are substituting. Councillor Murphy has also sent her apologies this evening.
Thank you. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations to be made? No, fantastic. Item number 3 is the minutes of the previous Assets, Projects and Strategy Committee on the 19th of November 2025. Is it agreed that I sign as a correct record the minutes of the Assets, Projects and Strategy Committee meeting held on the 19th of November 2025, which begin on page 3 of the supplementary agenda? Thank you.
Not disputing the contents of the minutes, but just to follow up, because I'm not sure where to do it elsewhere otherwise, on the action sheet. Agenda item 4, the update to Councillor Poppy's question around expenditure on halls. Could I just inquire, if I may, the Hutton Poplars Lodge expenditure, my understanding was that the work done in the last couple of years there was in response to water damage of a leak about 2 years ago, so therefore would have been recoverable via an insurance claim, I believe, and the cost on Hutton Poplars Hall seems extremely large, 418,000. The only work I'm aware of there was the replacement of the heating system and the installation of solar panels. Would it be possible outside of this meeting perhaps to come back with a more detailed breakdown of where those numbers come from, please?
I think we'll add it to the next action list for you, Councillor Barber, and we'll get it emailed to you in advance as well. Thank you. Item 4 is the Capital Strategy 2026-2027 to 2029-2030. The report begins on page 5 of the agenda. Mr Dickinson, do you have anything to add?
Thank you, Chair. Nothing to add, but happy to take any questions.
Thank you. I will move the recommendation set out on page 6 of the agenda. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second that, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cloak. Councillor Chinnery.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe this is because I'm relatively new to this committee, but I noticed that the Battery Centre on page 12 or 22, depending on how you're looking at it, those numbers seem much smaller compared to last year's kind of capital strategy. I think the cost of the Battery Centre was meant to be something like 20-odd million. Here we've got about 5 million plus £250,000 for the feasibility. Can you tell me what decisions would have made those numbers lower? Why are we spending less money on that Battery Centre redevelopment in this? Thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask Ms Barnes in a second, but I think the first thing to note is this relates obviously to partially to schemes that we have put forward at previous asset committees, that some of it's not fully public at this stage yet, but in general it's a reprofiling of that scheme and what's feasible and available. But Ms Barnes or any other officer would like to add anything to that?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so as previously reported under an exempt item. We're looking to proceed with the public realm scheme. We're looking, because of viability issues, we need to phase the redevelopment of the scheme. So this committee in the future will have a report come in which will go into more detail around the public realm scheme that we will be working towards, as well as the viability around a larger scheme. Subject to then reports and decisions, we may have to come back for additional funding. But at this moment in time, to be prudent, we've put forward what we know, and then we'll bring forward through the committee and the relevant other committees, Finance Resource Committee and Council, as and when we need additional budget to do the further phases.
Thank you. I think that answers my question.
Thank you. Very effective. Councillor Kendall.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. There's only going to be some brief comments, really. Is just to emphasise the fact in the recommendations, this is the draft capital strategy. This isn't the definitive capital strategy, and I'm sure there will be changes, as Ms Barnes has just alluded to, because we've got some time between now and when we set the budget. But I think it's obviously important we have this here tonight prior to discussing the Brentwood Centre, because it sets into context where we are, what the funding, the general funding issues are. But I obviously give it my full support, Chair, the recommendations. And as I say, I think pretty much what is in the report is what we've discussed so far at various committees. So I don't think there's anything jumping out, particularly as a big surprise this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there... Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Chair. Always good to be here on your committee. Couple of things. Obviously, the HRA, Brookfield Close, and the development over there, very much welcome and enthusiastic supporter of that. But building on the point of Councillor Chinnery, it was September at this of 2024 at this committee where it was stated that the public realm would be complete in 25, and that the proposal for the placemaking scheme for the entire Bay Tree Centre was going to be ready from 2026 onwards. That's still on the council website, 19th of September 2024. Is it fair to say, with local government reform approaching, that there is no chance of a cinema in Brentwood in the near future with this capital strategy?
The answer to that is no. That is still part of the plan as it proceeds. And I'm sure the officers can elucidate this in a better way than I can. Part of the major challenge we have are both the retail environment remaining challenging and difficult, and in turn parts of the scheme that were considered previously to be either retail or hospitality led may end up becoming more residential led potentially, but a cinema remains a key feature of the development, and it's just getting it rephased as appropriate. And the one thing I am determined to do, and I think Councillor Cloak agrees with me, is that no proposal we will put forward puts this council or any future successor council in a financial position where it is unaffordable, because that is the worst case scenario for the public, having to subsidise what should be commercial facility for the longer term, because that doesn't help anyone, and that's making a choice on services where potentially a leisure or a retail offer may be a higher priority than actually what we're meant to be doing as our primary purpose. So yes, it's difficult, it is disappointing, certainly, and in turn project plans will be continuing, and we will be looking to get things on the agenda faster and into planning permission and other factors as soon as possible next year, but we are not going to proceed with proposals or plans that at the end of the day do not add up. But nevertheless, central to this will be a leisure offer, and in turn we are focusing that on a cinema as far as we can, providing there's a commercial provider willing to take that up as well. Mrs Barnes, anything you'd like to add? Councillor Barber.
If I could just come back on that. So the 250,000 that's been removed, that was budgeted in 25-26, how much of that has actually been incurred this year? Because is that feasible? Was that not the cost, the budget item for doing the feasibility for the long-term redevelopment, the full development of that site. And has that actually been spent? Is that going to be concluded by the end of this financial year?
Would one of the officers like to take that spending item, or can we return to it? It's a reasonable question by Councillor Barber offline. I recognise there will have been spending on this item, but the level of it, I'm guessing you don't have right in front of you.
No, I don't have the exact amount that we've spent to date, but that line is quite rightly for the final phase and looking at the feasibility. The scheme is difficult. The viability of the scheme is extremely difficult. I can confirm we conducted soft market testing to look at the scheme, and we will be bringing forward an update on where we are and the business case to the committee cycle in the new year on the Battery Centre. So we can give exact numbers offline, but just to make the committee aware that an update is coming.
Thank you. Any further questions? No. Am I saying to speak? Nothing to add, Secretary? We will now vote on the recommendations set out on page 6 of the agenda. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, members. Item 5 is the Brentwood Centre Master Plan and Business Case. The report begins on page 27 of the agenda, but please can I remind members that appendices D and E are exempt from the public domain. Therefore, if you wish to ask any questions relating to those items, we need to stop the stream for the rest of the meeting. I will actually ask when we sequence this that first off, we ask questions that are in the white, and then we can go to things that are in the pink afterwards for if members are okay with that. So hands up for the white first. But Mrs. Barnes, I keep getting this one wrong. Do you have anything to add?
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to add thank you for everyone's time that was able to come to the committee briefing on Monday evening. Hopefully that gave the committee quite a lot of information. Focusing on obviously the initial business case that is presented in front of you that both myself and Paul Brace, predominantly probably more Paul, has worked on, and that the full business case will come forward in the March committee, which will finalise the numbers and the programme. And the purpose of tonight is to get the authority to continue with the concept design that is outlined in the report, so that we can achieve a planning submission by mid-March. And then the plan is that then obviously we would look to then twin track the procurement delivery of that, so that we can be on site developing out the Brentwood Centre, as well as the 3G pitches and resurfacing and reconfiguring the car park, starting that project off in the summer, and concluding it within hopefully an 18-month window. But me and Paul are happy to take any questions on the item.
Thank you, Mrs. Barnes. I will now move the recommendation set out on page 28 of the agenda. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cloak. Just before we begin the debate, again, a personal note of thanks from myself to the officers who've worked and led on this project. You'll see from the report, it is an exceptional amount of work that's gone into what is a very complex project, and in turn will be, as I understand it, in cash terms, the biggest investment we've made into our borough as Brentwood Borough Council, and a nice legacy, hopefully, for us all to have at the end. Not that this is a legacy project, because that would technically be bad, but this is a long-term investment that we need to do for the future of Brentwood, or whatever succeeds it. Do I have any members to speak? Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Chair. I speak from various angles here as a ward member, as Chair of Health and Wellbeing, and obviously from the housing point of view as well. And I also want to add my thanks, because this is a major, major project. I think what we're creating is a jewel in the crown, and we're creating a quality centre that really we should be very, very proud of as a borough, to be able to produce something along these lines. I think we're investing for the borough's future, and it's not just supporting sport, it's supporting leisure, and these coming together support mental and physical well-being. And I think that's going to be a great bonus for all residents of Brentwood. From the side from where the main hall also has shows and entertainment, that generates a lot of people coming in from outside of the borough, but it also generates income. And whilst it is a very, very costly exercise, it's something that in the long term, over the years, will be generating a lot of returns on that investment. And I think it would be something we can be very proud of. So I wholeheartedly support your recommendations, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Councillor Chinnery.
Thank you, Chair, and I agree with Councillor Davis. I think this is a wonderful, wonderful project. I think it's much needed, and it's a very good investment. I have just a very quick question on kind of procurement of this. I think in the audit committee there, I think procurement has been under some degree of spotlight. It says here that the council must continue to adhere to procurement regulations, and deviations have a risk of legal challenge. And you've kind of obtained legal advice on the procurement strategy to protect council position. All very good. Kind of in the last few months, how much kind of training updates have you gone over with procurement? Because it was something that I think needed quite a bit of work from our last external audit. Thank you.
Would either of us like to take this?
So procurement it's outsourced now to Essex and EPP, Essex Procurement Partnership, and they have they are very experienced, but they've also got a pool of other officers within the partnership that can support them, and they've also got a wide range of skills from having done similar, maybe not exactly the same, but very similar tender processes. And they are on top of all the latest Procurement Act, and they are following. It can be a little bit frustrating sometimes for officers because they do make sure everyone goes through the correct process and the procurement process is followed correctly, but that is ensuring that we are compliant with all the procurement regs.
Does that satisfy you, Councillor Chinnery? I think this is what others you can see from front. This has been a learning process for the officers at the same time, but the meticulousness that has been followed in this project, it's going to be a case study of either a huge success story and progress in procurement, or it isn't. Councillor Kendall.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to start by just thanking you as Chair, along with Councillors Cloak and Poppy, for the time I know you've put in on this project with your working group, because I know a lot of time has been spent on that. I'd obviously like to thank also Ms Barnes and all the asset team for all the work they've put in to get us to this stage as well. I mean, there's an enormous amount of work, as you can see, from these documents we have before us tonight. I think if you look at the report, page 31, there's some interesting points there. 2.3, it says it attracts over 350,000 visits annually. So when people ask why we invest in all this money, that's one of the reasons. It's probably one of the most used facilities, if not the most used facility we have in the borough. I think 2.4 is very important. It's setting out the 8 goals for redevelopment. Why are we doing this and what are the key issues that we as a council are looking at? So I'm pleased that's highlighted there. And also about the value, the social value that is gained from the facility. I think that is important. As we look at the facility, I mean, anyone who goes up there on a regular basis will know it is looking a bit tired at the moment, and we do need to do some changes to it to bring it up to scratch. And I think it's one of the classic examples. If you're going to do it, either do it properly or don't. And I think this plan that we've got in front of us says that we are going to do it properly as a borough council, and I think that's good. I'm very pleased to see that we've got the three 3G football pitches come in. I understand there is a need for about 8 across the whole borough, but the fact we're getting 3 here is very good. The car park does need to be modernised and upgraded. That is a definite, because we need to make sure that's fit for purpose. And also Brentwood Town FC, I think they've got some plans to expand for the future. And I'm pleased to see, as someone who goes and watches the town play when I can, I'm pleased to see that there's going to be room for them to expand if they need to, and I think that is important. Overall, I think the scheme is something that this council and residents can be proud of, and I'm sure we all want to see it built as quickly as possible. Looking through the report, I'm pleased to see I think the feasibility report is coming, or will be complete in February 26, and we'll have an outline design by March 26. So I think that's obviously good news as well. So it shows we've got some key dates in there for taking it forward. And I'm hopeful, obviously with cross-party member support, that we'll get the budget set in, we'll get the budget agreed, the funding agreed when we're setting the budget. So look forward to that happening in January, February. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Kendall. I'm going to balance it each side of the room. So Councillor Barber next, if you could.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd like to echo the comments and thank the officers for this report and the presentation that we had earlier this week. The scheme, as it's recommended, is extremely impressive. It's reinvesting in an asset that really has been over the years known as the jewel in the crown in terms of Brentwood. 1988, I see on the website, was when it was originally built. And I remember some of the facilities we had before then with the old swimming pool just off Ongar Road. So much expanded, and we do need to invest in it properly. I echo those comments. It's a huge part of our community as well. I mean, during the COVID pandemic, that was the place that we were standing outside, ushering people in to help them get the vaccine. It was where we had the fundraiser for Ukrainian support as well. And I would like to say that I know if former Councillor Mark Reed was here today, he'd be enthusiastically supporting this proposal and this investment because he was passionate about hosting events within the borough. A lot of people don't like travelling out of the borough to go and see things and do things, and having a venue like the Brentwood Centre is very, very important, and echo the comments about the health and well-being that Councillor Davis and others have made, the benefits of people being able to go and get healthy exercise, especially younger people as well. There aren't that many things to do, perhaps in a town like Brentwood, for younger people, and having a good sports venue where they can actually participate with their friends and get fitter and healthier is to be applauded. So very great comments about the Brentwood town as well. It's future-proofing the proposal as it's presented here. The presentation was very, very impressive. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barber. Councillor Mayo.
Thank you. I would join Councillor Barber as a fellow sub tonight. I found the presentation on Monday extremely helpful, and I was very pleasantly surprised at the enormous progress that has been made since I first engaged in this. So I'll add my thanks to those of my colleagues tonight for the officers' work. It's been really impressive stuff. I suppose the only aspect that I was thinking, okay, this looks particularly challenging is, of course, planning. Okay, and there is an aggressive timescale on there. It does say on 7.2 that there will be pre-application discussions. I suspect there probably already has been. I'm hoping there has been. Could you just give us a quick overview of how or what engagement has already been made and what the intention is to meet some very challenging deadlines on planning so that we can be confident that it will meet the deadlines that Mrs Barnes has already outlined. One of the aspects I'll certainly be looking at when it does come to planning is also public transport. As a ward member for Brentwood North, obviously Doddinghurst Road is in my patch and I want to make sure that we get that traffic right. I also think it would really encourage more use if we can get some form of increased public transport there, but I don't think that's for tonight. So if you could give us some hopefully reassurance on the plan for getting this through the planning stages.
Which officer would like to take that one? Mr Brace.
Even it out.
Can't maybe look a little bit useful. Yes, so we've already had a couple of meetings with planning and architects to discuss this through and get some pointers as to what information planning will want early and what may be able to come a bit later on. But that process is underway, relationships being built. We will also be engaging with Essex County Highways, obviously, and we will want to talk about Doddinghurst Road, entrance and exits from the centre, and how that road safety, all those bits and pieces, which I know residents are very keen to ensure we have good road safety. So we're in a very good position. Our architects are working at pace, that we have to be honest about. They are working at pace, but we are engaging with people like the Football Foundation and others to give us guidance on best practice around that stuff. So our architect is very experienced. We're bringing other people in to help. We're getting guidance from planning. We will be engaging with partners. Will be engaging with community users to help us make sure we're getting a design that when we go out to consultation, it won't be a surprise to them and have 1,000,001 questions about it. So I will say our biggest risk is the pace at which we work, but it is what it is. But we are trying to tick every available box to us that we're doing as much pre-work before we get to the 20th of March and submit that planning application. So we'll be doing a lot of work from January the 5th onwards when we get back after Christmas. Very little with consulting prior, but we'll be doing a hell of a lot of work, not only with community, future users, our partners, as well as planning pre-app, that when we get to the 20th, in fact, the 11th of March, we'll be very confident that we'll be ready to go on the 20th with a planning application.
Thank you. I think that pretty comprehensively answered that as well, Mr. Brace. We're glad you're here. Made it worthwhile. Yeah. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wants to speak in the white section before? And in turn, I should ask, do members want to go into the pink? No? That makes it even more easy for me, and certainly Ms. Wyatt's very happy. Councillor Cloak, is there anything you'd like to add?
Thank you. Yeah, I'd just like to thank officers, although participating in the working group, it's made ever so easy for us by the officers and the very clear way that the information is presented at that stage, which is really helpful. And I can only echo everybody else's comments. Essentially, you know, the town needs a robust and good leisure offering. And this offering is both sports but also the events, and that's something that you don't see in every town and something that we really should preserve and grow. So I'm really pleased with how this has come out and how it can develop both of those aspects really strongly, and I hope everyone will be supportive on that basis.
Thank you, Councillor Cloak. Just from my perspective, again, we've mentioned thanks, but there are many people to thank in this in turn. Others have mentioned the Strategic Working Group, myself, Councillor Cloak and Councillor Poppy. He's not here, so I'm allowed to say something nice about him. He has been very open and transparent in his work there, and in turn, we've been, I think it's been a genuinely collaborative effort across councillors and across party, which is really positive, given the value all of us attach to this asset. I think it's a very positive thing that for the residents to actually see us. We can work together and play nicely if it really matters, which is a very positive thing to see. And in general, back to the point of this isn't just something that is important, it's something of scale, and in turn it's probably time, given the centre, I've used a similar pun before, it's so much older than Councillor Chinnery, it's scary. Which should worry us all that maybe it's time we actually do something with it to make it a better, more future-proof facility, and the generations after the Chinnerys of this world can in turn feel a newness that they never otherwise would do. So thank you for that, everyone, and we will now vote on the recommendations on page 28 of the agenda. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, members. That concludes the agenda this evening. Therefore, I'd like to close the meeting. Thank you all very much. Have a great evening. Thank you.